So this video is going to be an in-depth analysis of Rashford's goal which opened the scoring for United against Betis in this game. And it's a goal that had so many intriguing points from Dalot and De Gea to how I would have organised United's attacking movement in the final third. And despite this move ending with the ball in the back of the net, I do have a few bits of constructive criticism to speak about as well. But United in the first 6 minutes of the match were able to take the lead. But before I go any further, have you ever struggled to watch content because you're outside a certain region or area? Well, I had the exact same problem during the World Cup when I was in Spain, and I wasn't able to access either ITV or BBC iPlayer. And so without the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN, I wouldn't have been able to watch most of the matches I watched during the World Cup. But also, if you do travel outside the UK regularly, or you just live outside the UK, then having NordVPN is going to allow you to watch content such as Match of the Day, or any of the live FA Cup games that are on BBC or ITV. You can also access content from YouTube and Netflix that you otherwise wouldn't be able to watch without being able to change your location, as a NordVPN allows you to do. On top of this, NordVPN also provides threat protection, which stops malware from infecting your computer if you are using public Wi-Fi, for example, and your data is protected by next generation encryption. And on top of allowing you to access more content and keeping your data private, they also have 24/7 customer support if you need it, enable you to have one account protecting up to 6 devices, as well as also having a 30-day money-back guarantee for all users, so it's literally risk-free. NordVPN also has a special birthday gift, where if you sign up for NordVPN now, you'll get extra subscription time. And so if you are looking for all the benefits of a VPN, then NordVPN is definitely for you. And so I'll leave a link in the description below, and by buying NordVPN, you will be helping to support the channel as well. But it did stem from a pretty scrappy situation in United's defensive third. So the Betis keeper plays a long goal kick upfield, and Dalot does well initially, showing his physical capabilities by fighting off Luis Enrique as the ball runs down the left flank. But from here, under pressure with Luis Enrique on his back, he just completely lacks composure. And this is a quintessential example of how a minor individual mistake can lead to a series of other mistakes from other players, eventually causing bigger issues. And Dalot starts off this series of mistakes with an awkward pass back to De Gea, and even though you could say that De Gea is at fault for simply heading the ball straight to Luis Enrique, I would definitely say that Dalot is more at fault. But from here, Enrique now has the ball in the United box, and now after Dalot and De Gea have dealt with the ball like a hot potato, that chaos and lack of composure seems to affect all of the United players inside of the box. And from here, there's a scramble to stop Betis getting a shot away, and the ball eventually comes to Antony, who does well to win the foul. And the possession phase really starts from when Casemiro takes a free kick quickly, but I just want to come back onto this series of play, as even though it does seem insignificant, I think it does show that whilst a lot of the United players, Dalot in particular for this example, has significant assets both in and out of possession, and overall I would say he's still a pretty good right back despite having a few dodgy performances recently. He still is capable of making mistakes like this, lacking composure in certain areas, and that really is a mentality thing, something that comes with experience, and Dalot is in his early 20s, so I guess it is understandable. And I think that is the difference between the mentality of a title winning squad and a squad who are going to finish second or third, which is where United are at the moment. And I would say for this season at least, United are a level below both City and Arsenal, and I think we can see this by the amount of times United have been embarrassed, had shock performances that have almost come out of nowhere. Whereas City and Arsenal are a lot more consistent, and even if they do drop points or lose a match, you don't see them completely collapse as a team, as we saw United do against Liverpool recently and City earlier on in the season. And so this current United side reminds me of Premier League teams of yesteryear, who have looked like genuine title contenders for most of the season, but during the pressure points of the season completely took their foot off the gas. Think Arsenal in 2015-2016 when they eventually allowed Leicester to run away with the title. Liverpool under Brendan Rodgers in 2013-2014 when Gerrard's slip against Chelsea and the 3-3 draw against Crystal Palace showcased a clear deficiency in the squad's mentality. And if you want to go back to the 90s, think Kevin Keegan's Newcastle, who at one point in the 95-96 season were 12 points clear of both Liverpool and Manchester United in second and third, allowing United to claw that back and eventually finishing second in 96 and second again in 97. And there are a lot of similarities between that Newcastle side in the 90s and Mauricio Pochettino's Tottenham side in the 2010s, with Tottenham probably also feeling they should have won the league in 15-16, 20 years after Kevin Keegan's side did, and then like Newcastle they went on to finish second the next season. And so at the moment I do think this is where the current United side ranks, and I do think it's down to individual players' mentalities, experience, and their ability to perform in pressure moments. But we'll now move on to the attacking move that actually leads to the opening goal, and you can see here that because Casemiro is thinking ahead, takes a free kick quickly, releasing Rashford, who can now turn in the middle third with space, And this move is a great example of the benefits of transitioning the attack quickly, as even though it did come from a free kick after Antony was fouled, Real Betis were putting United under significant pressure in their defensive third, and so because of this, Abner, the Real Betis left back, is caught upfield, and because Bruno Fernandes didn't track back and retained a higher position, he can now exploit this space. And when I watched the replay back of this goal, this moment actually reminded me of Arsenal versus Everton back in 2013-2014, when Roberto Martinez used Romelu Lukaku as a wide right forward in order to take advantage of Nacho Monreal's advanced positioning in the attack. So when Monreal would push forward when Arsenal had possession, Romelu Lukaku, unlike a conventional right winger, would hold a very high position on the right flank instead of following Monreal's movement forward, and so this meant that when Everton won the ball, he was constantly in space, and because of his pace, power and dribbling ability, he was able to exploit the space vacated on the right by Monreal, or even receive the ball and isolate Monreal in 1v1 positions, and this led to Lukaku's goal and Everton's second of the game in a 3-0 victory against Arsene Wenger's Arsenal at Goodison Park. If it was Garnacho or Rashford instead of Bruno Fernandes in this position when he receives the ball, then like Lukaku did to exploit the space that Monreal left, they could do the same to exploit the space that Abner, the Real Betis left back, has left, driving forward and looking to isolate Real Betis' left-sided centre-back Luis Felipe in a 1v1 situation. However, Bruno Fernandes isn't this type of player, and so United aren't going to be able to take advantage of this. However, despite the move nearly breaking down later on with Bruno Fernandes putting in a poor cross into the box, if we look back at when Bruno Fernandes is first driving forward with the ball, and Abner is still out of position, I would actually say that Bruno Fernandes is let down by the movement around him. So at this point, Weghorst is over the far side on the left, with 3 Real Betis defenders in close proximity, and so from here I think Weghorst's movement should be towards the ball, as that's what he does best. He's not going to cause problems trying to run in behind the Betis backline, but if he makes a run towards the ball over to the right side, firstly he's going to offer Bruno Fernandes a short passing option, which he definitely needs as he just doesn't have the pace to carry the ball forward. But this is probably also going to drag one of the 2 far-sided Real Betis defenders, and then from here Marcus Rashford can look to use Weghorst as a decoy, making a run over to the left side. And so now you have the forward who's best at receiving the ball to feet with his back to goal, closer to Bruno Fernandes, and a player who's better at making runs in behind and getting into goal scoring positions, and then finishing from those positions, higher up the pitch but also furthest away from the ball. And so now you have a situation where Bruno Fernandes has that short passing option, and doesn't have to hit a De Bruyne-esque Hollywood cross into the box. And from here I also think that Antony should make a run overlapping Bruno Fernandes, as I always think when there's a player with the ball who doesn't have the pace or dribbling ability to isolate a player in a 1v1, the best thing to do is to double up on the flank, have a player in close proximity, providing an over or underlapping run, which would either drag the Real Betis defender away as they follow Antony's run, giving Bruno Fernandes more space to get the ball out of his feet and carry it forward, or if they hold their position and move to confront Fernandes, Fernandes can just release Antony on the overlap, and now Antony will have the ball inside or just outside the Real Betis box in a dangerous wide position. But these runs aren't made, and you can see as Bruno Fernandes is about to put this cross into the box, he doesn't really have any great options, and even if the ball does bypass the first man, for me, Weghorst has reacted far too slow. He should be a lot further forward between the opposition's right back and centre back, attacking the penalty spot, but he's just too far behind and he hasn't got the pace to make up that ground. And I think Weghorst's lack of anticipation in the box to make moves early is the main reason why he doesn't score enough goals. He's not getting into the right positions enough times in a game, and when he does get into those positions and get the chances, his composure and finishing ability is often poor, which is why I would have had Weghorst moving towards the ball and Rashford in this area, as Rashford's movement inside of the box this season has been exceptional and his finishing's been even better. And we can also see as Fernandes is about to put this cross into the box, Antony's central position means he's offering nothing in terms of advance in the attack. He's not sitting in a space that will open up a passing lane for Bruno Fernandes, nor is he providing any movement ahead of the ball to drag defenders away and give Fernandes more space, or making a run into space for Fernandes to release him into. And I think this is definitely something that Ten Hag and the United coaches need to work on, as forget even what he does on the ball, Antony's movement off of the ball in this situation could have affected play in a lot more impactful way, and even though United did eventually get a goal from this move, they could have created a much better chance than the one they actually scored from. But United do get an element of fortune with this goal. Fernandes' cross is poor, doesn't beat the first man, but in stretching to stop the cross going through, Felipe falls on the floor and presents the ball at Rashford's feet. And I think this is the type of pressurised situation in the box, where last season Rashford may have lost his composure and being a lot less decisive in getting the ball out of his feet and getting the shot away, and probably taking too many touches in this situation. But 2023 Rashford has a composure to first roll his foot over the ball just to set himself, but it's his next touch which is the most important, as he's only going to get one more touch of the ball to set himself for the shot. But he's also got to navigate himself around Felipe, who's still on the floor, and he does this astutely, moving the ball to the side, and before Pizzella, the other centre-back, has time to come across, he releases a powerful shot into the roof of the net past Claudio Bravo, giving United the perfect start to this tie. Now the reason I decided to do a full video on this goal was because I found it fascinating from a variety of different viewpoints. I think the confusion between Dalot and De Gea shows that there is still some mental fragility in the United ranks, and particularly in the defence. But Casemiro definitely deserves credit for his quick thinking, releasing Rashford on the attack with the quick free kick. And I think that attacking situation with Bruno Fernandes having the ball on the right flank is definitely something that United need to work on, as I thought Weghorst and Antony's lack of movement and positioning made them pretty ineffective throughout this attack. But nevertheless, you do of course need the element of fortune throughout a season, and the goal certainly wasn't handed to Rashford, it was just the opportunity that was handed to him, and he took it as an elite forward would take it, lending even more evidence to the theory that Rashford is now progressing into a world-class attacker. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, check out some of my other match analysis videos, which will be linked in a playlist in the description, and you can also find my transfer playlist and my treble 99 playlist down there as well. Put your thoughts on the match in the description, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more content as well.